Hey everyone, welcome to another Explainer. Today, we're literally peeling back the layers of Australia's very first European settlement. If you wander through Sydney's historic Rocks neighborhood right now, you are instantly hit with this incredible sensory richness. We're talking vibrant artisan stalls, hands polishing handcrafted jewelry, the smell of gourmet food trucks, and just this dynamic, buzzing energy, all set against stunning sandstone architecture. But beneath those charming cobblestone alleys lies a past that is much darker, wilder, and honestly, absolutely fascinating. So, how exactly did Sydney's most notorious slum become its most prized historical treasure? That's the big question driving our whole journey today. We're going to see how a gritty, crime-ridden waterfront somehow managed to dodge total erasure, literally staring down the wrecking ball twice to become the living, breathing museum that it is today. Here is our roadmap for today. 1. War Reign, the first footprints. 2. Convicts, crime, and cobblestones. 3. The plague and the purge. 4. The battle for the rocks. And finally, 5. Unearthing Sydney's soul. Let's get right into it. We're covering a massive sweep of history here, from over 60,000 years of Gadigal life to the 1788 First Fleet arrival, all the way to the 1900 plague resumptions and the 1973 green bans. It is kind of mind-blowing to think about the sheer amount of dramatic history packed into this one tiny patch of land. Part 1. Warren, the first footprints, the deep indigenous roots. Long before European ships ever dropped anchor, this pristine coastline was known as Melia Wool, or Warren. For tens of thousands of years, it was home to the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. They lived in profound harmony with the area, making the absolute most of the abundant sandstone and the incredibly rich marine life of the harbor. And we actually have the physical evidence right beneath the modern city to prove it. At the Lilyville site, archaeologists unearthed a 500-year-old campfire, complete with the remains of oyster shells, bream, and snapper. It's a snapshot of a rich, thriving culture. What's even wilder? The ancient indigenous pathways they walked are what actually shaped the route of modern-day George Street. Part 2. Convicts, crime, and cobblestones, the rough edges of the colony. Fast forward to 1788 and things abruptly change. The foundation of this new city was brutal, back-breaking work. Convicts and freemen alike quite literally carved this neighborhood out of solid rock using just picks and chisels. The physical toll on these workers must have been unimaginable, leaving deep quarrying scars that you can still spot on the cliff faces today. But, it wasn't just hard labor. It was the wild, wild west out there. The rocks quickly earned a pretty notorious reputation, largely thanks to incredibly colorful and frankly dangerous characters like Bully Hayes, the so-called Pirate of the Pacific. The legend goes that he operated out of historic pubs like the Hero of Waterloo, where he'd spin tall tales, get sailors drunk, and then literally Shanghai them. He dropped them through secret trapdoors and cellars, forcing them onto ships bound for the South Seas. Imagine that. A simple night out could literally cost you your freedom. No way. Yet despite all that crime and chaos, they built monumental structures that miraculously still survive today. We've got Cadman's Cottage from 1816, which is the oldest surviving residential building in Sydney. Then there's the Argyle Cut, this massive, astounding tunnel blasted and carved by hand right through the ridge. And of course, Susanna Place, an 1844 row of Irish immigrant terraces that offers an incredible, literal window right into 19th century domestic life. All right, on to part 3, the plague and the purge, disease, demolition, and preservation. The late 19th century saw the area become heavily overcrowded, setting the stage for an absolute disaster. In the year 1900, a devastating bubonic plague outbreak swept right through the district. The rocks became ground zero, forcing the government to step in with some incredibly drastic measures to contain the disease. The reality on the ground was stark. At places like the corner of Essex and Cumberland Streets, authorities forcefully assumed ownership of the land. They essentially demolished entire blocks of what they called slum conditions, literally burning bedding in the streets and displacing families who had called this place home for generations. Now, here is where we hit a massive historical irony. The government's whole intention was wide-scale demolition to clear out these slums. But because the state now completely owned the land, it accidentally prevented piecemeal corporate redevelopment. Unlike the rest of Sydney, developers couldn't just swoop in, buy up individual lots, and build modern skyscrapers over them. So, in a weird twist of fate, this drastic government purge actually ended up preserving the surviving buildings for decades.
Part 4. The Battle for the Rocks, High-Rises, and Heritage Strikes.
So, fast forward to the 1970s, and modernist developers were itching to bulldoze everything for high-rise offices. Enter union leader Jack Mundy. He utilized what became known as green bans. These were building trade union strikes where workers flat out refused to provide labor for any project that destroyed the environment or local heritage. It was an incredible moment, proving that the working class could be the ultimate champions of heritage conservation. This powerful stance during the 1973 Battle for the Rocks was an absolute game changer. As Mundy himself noted, collective actions like the occupation really empowered citizens, halting insensitive developments. They literally stopped the wrecking balls, saved the neighborhood, and their actions directly led to statewide heritage and planning legislation across Australia. Which brings us to our final era, Part 5, Unearthing Sydney's Soul, the modern archaeological treasure. Today, there are over 100 meticulously preserved heritage-listed items in the rocks. It's completely transformed the area's legacy. When you visit today, you aren't walking through a slum. You're strolling past vibrant textiles and street performers, totally immersed in a bustling artisan culture that just perfectly complements the historic architecture. And modern archaeology has completely flipped the script on the area's rough reputation. The 1994 Big Dig at Cumberland Street uncovered millions of artifacts from 46 historic houses. This unearthing proved that the Rocks wasn't just some blighted slum filled with criminals. No, it was a vibrant, complex, deeply human community of families, bakers, butchers, and everyday workers just trying to make a life. So, what's the big takeaway from this explainer? The Rocks is an absolute miracle of preservation. The fact that you can wander those picturesque laneways today, take in the sweeping harbor views, and soak in that lively market scene, it's all because everyday citizens fought tooth and nail to preserve it against all odds. It isn't just a physical place. It's a testament to a community's fight to remember its layered past. So, as we wrap up and picture dusk settling over those sparkling city lights, think about the deep, fascinating layers we unpeel today. I'll leave you with this to ponder for your next visit down under. If the sandstone walls of the Rocks could talk, which of its thousands of years of stories would you listen to first? The ancient Gadigal pathways, the whispered plots of a 19th century smuggler, or the passionate chants of a 1970s union protester? The history's right there, waiting for you. Thanks for exploring with me, and keep feeding your curiosity.